Ready to settle some debates? Welcome to Nice or Nasty, where we dive into those jaw-dropping Reddit stories that'll have you questioning who's in the right and who's totally out of line. Imagine growing up feeling like you were born as a mistake, constantly reminded by those closest to you that you're nothing more than a painful reminder of loss. This story hits home with themes of family rejection and the desperate need for recognition. I've always felt like I was born as a mistake, a painful label that haunted me from the very start. I was raised solely by my dad after my mother chose to step away from my life, and even her family couldn't be bothered. My dad, still grieving his late wife, had a brief fling that led to my arrival. I entered a world where two older half-siblings, aged 11 and 9 at the time, resented my very existence. They made it clear that I was nothing more than a reminder of a loss they couldn't overcome, their bitterness stinging every time they reminded me that I was an error in our family's story. Despite everything, my dad always provided for me. On the surface, he seemed like the perfect parent, attending school events, ensuring I had what I needed, and even including me when his other kids wouldn't. Yet beneath that caring exterior, I sensed a cold distance. He clung to memories of his late wife, with wedding photos and mementos scattered throughout the house, and sometimes it felt as if his love for her overshadowed any affection for me. I couldn't help but wonder if he, like my half-siblings, secretly regretted that I was a part of his life. Then, 2 years ago, a turning point arrived in the form of my girlfriend and her incredibly supportive family. They welcomed me with open arms and made it abundantly clear that I deserved to be seen as so much more than a mistake. Their warmth and acceptance filled a void I'd long carried, and slowly, I began to believe in my own worth. After turning 18, I made one of the hardest decisions of my life. I moved in with my girlfriend and her family to finish high school in a place where I felt valued. This decision wasn't without controversy. My extended family accused me of being ungrateful, and my dad even warned me against disrespecting my grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Determined to be honest about my feelings, I gathered everyone together at my grandparents' house. I opened up about the constant reminder I'd been forced to live with, that I was merely a byproduct of a mistake made after my mom passed away. I told them I wanted to be recognized for who I am now, not defined by the circumstances of my birth. Instead of understanding, I was met with cold, dismissive responses. My dad insisted that his grief was his alone, and I was advised not to take the bitter words of adults who were still grieving too personally. Even so, I remained steadfast in my belief that I deserve more than a role as a painful reminder of the past. So here I stand, questioning, is it wrong for me to demand recognition for the person I am today, rather than being forever haunted by the mistake of yesterday? Wow, a heart-wrenching journey from feeling unwanted to finding validation. Do you think it's fair to be defined by your origins, or is everyone entitled to a fresh start? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. When losing a job collides with the ever-polarizing world of politics, personal pain and political loyalties create a recipe for deep betrayal. This story challenges the limits of tolerance when the personal becomes political. Losing my job was devastating. I won't say which federal agency I worked for, but it was a career I believed in, a job I dedicated years to, only to be cut without warning. The experience left me feeling blindsided, betrayed, and struggling to process the sheer unfairness of it all. I've always considered myself tolerant, someone who can respect differing opinions, even political ones. I never supported the Orange Man, but I never let that dictate my relationships. I had friends and family who voted for him, and while we didn't always see eye to eye, I kept things civil. Some were open to genuine discussions. Others avoided politics entirely, and that was fine. But now it feels personal. Losing my job was one thing, but watching people I care about continue to support him, posting about him and VP Musk on social media like nothing happened, feels like a slap in the face. Some have even expressed sympathy for what happened to me, yet they still stand by the very person responsible. I just can't separate the politics from the people anymore. Lately, I've been thinking about cutting ties altogether. Part of me wants to make a statement, post something that lays it all out, wishing them the best, but making it clear I won't be in their lives anymore. Another part of me wonders if it would be easier to simply block them, move on quietly, and focus on myself. My in-laws are another hurdle. We've always had a great relationship, but the thought of sitting in their home, watching Fox News blare in the background, makes me feel physically ill. I know I need to have a conversation with them, but I dread it. Am I the a-hole for feeling this way? For considering walking away from people I've known for 20 years just because of politics? Or is this just an emotional reaction to losing something I truly loved? Tough questions here. When personal loss meets political allegiance, where do we draw the line? Would you cut off relationships over political differences, or try to bridge the gap? Sound off below. Sometimes it's the little things that reveal the big issues. A tiny, natural bodily function turns an intimate moment into a glaring red flag in this unexpected tale. It was just a tiny fart, a completely natural, unintentional little puff of air, but apparently to my boyfriend, it was the ultimate deal breaker. We were lying in bed, cuddled up under a blanket, just relaxing. Out of nowhere, my body betrayed me. I let out a small, harmless toot. The moment it happened, my boyfriend immediately jumped out of bed like I had set off a fire alarm. He started getting dressed, shaking his head in frustration. "Okay, I'm done," he said flatly, as if I had just insulted his entire existence. Still caught off guard, I blinked at him. "What?" "Stuff like this irks me," he shot back, his voice full of irritation. I was baffled. It was unintentional, but also completely natural. His response? "Why would you fart in the bed under the blanket?" He sounded genuinely disgusted, like I had personally attacked him with my bodily function. I just sat there, speechless, my heart sinking. It wasn't about the fart itself. It was about how fast he flipped from being affectionate to looking at me like I was some kind of problem. I had considered spending my life with this man, and now I was questioning everything over something as trivial as a fart. For context, it wasn't even a smelly one, just a soft little toot. But his reaction made me feel like I had committed a crime. Now I don't know what to do. Am I overreacting for feeling hurt? Or is this a huge red flag that I need to take seriously? Ouch! Talk about a blown-up reaction. Sometimes the tiniest things reveal deeper issues. Have you ever experienced a moment where a small incident exposed bigger problems? Let's chat in the comments. Divorce is messy enough, but add in an ex's new girlfriend, family loyalties, and a social media outburst that escalates to violence, and you've got a story that's equal parts shocking and all too real. I know I wasn't a perfect wife. Hell, I was the reason my marriage ended. I never should have gotten married in the first place, but hindsight is 20/20. Despite my mistakes, my ex and I have managed to keep things civil. We've been divorced for over a year and a half now, and while we aren't exactly friends, there's no lingering bitterness between us. What's more surprising is that his family, especially his mom and one of his sisters, have stayed in touch with me. It's not like we're best friends, but we'll grab a drink now and then, and his mom still checks in on me. She knows my own family is a mess, and she genuinely worries about me. I've told her she doesn't have to, but she insists. And honestly, it's nice to have that support. Enter my ex's new girlfriend. They've been together for about 6 months, and she's not handling things well. She's 27, and while the age gap between them isn't huge, he's pushing 40, she clearly has issues with the fact that he was married before. Actually, I'm his second ex-wife, which only seems to make things worse in her eyes. As their relationship has gotten more serious, she's become increasingly bothered by the fact that his family still speaks to me. At first, I found it amusing, until she started coming after me. She confronted me directly, demanding that I cut all contact with his family. I laughed in her face, but privately I told his mom and sister that I'd understand if they wanted to step back. Their response? A resounding no. They made it clear that they do what they want, and they weren't about to let some girlfriend of a hot minute dictate their relationships. That should have been the end of it. But no. Instead, she took the mature approach of airing out all my past mistakes on social media. Some of what she posted didn't just impact me, it affected other people who didn't deserve to be dragged into this mess. And now it's starting to rock some boats. Then, a few weeks ago, things escalated. I was out at a bar with some friends when she showed up with my ex. The moment she saw me, she lost it. She stormed over, livid, and demanded that I leave immediately. I laughed in her face again and turned back to my conversation, refusing to entertain her tantrum. Apparently, that was the wrong move. Because before I could react, she attacked me from behind, slamming my head into the bar top. Everything went black for a moment, and when I came to, she was being dragged away while someone called the cops. I declined to press charges at the time, but now I'm reconsidering. She's still coming after me online, still spreading her petty little vendetta. My ex is begging me to let it go, promising that he'll rein her in, but I don't think I should have to deal with this anymore. I know I wasn't the best person in my marriage, but am I really the a-hole if I go ahead and file charges against her now? When past relationships and new flames collide, things can get explosive. Do you think standing your ground is always the best choice, or should some battles be left behind? Wow, what a ride! We had stories that made us angry, sad, and even laugh out loud. A guy whose own family called him a mistake, a job loss that turned political, a fart that somehow ended a relationship, and an ex's new girlfriend going off the rails. Which one hit you the hardest? Which one had you shouting at your screen? Tell me in the comments. I want to hear what you think. And hey, if you've got a wild story of your own, don't hold back. Drop it below. We might just feature it in a future episode. Next time, we're diving into even bigger betrayals, crazier drama, and jaw-dropping moments. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, nice or nasty, it's your call.